Hey everybody, welcome to Tech Fix Talks. I'm in the studio today with Kevin Roth. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We are going to be talking today about 3 areas where technicians need the most help. So we're going to be talking about how to be a technician. We're going to be talking about nobody's favorites, learning the basics. And we're also going to be talking about advanced level training. So I'm going to start off with Kevin here, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. Let me ask you, do you know how we came up with T.C.O.D?
I don't.
So when we first started this program, we started testing a lot of technicians again. At that point, I think we tested about 150 our first month out. And I interviewed half of those technicians. And every single one of those technicians who failed the test, I only interviewed people who failed. If you were on that list, I'm sorry if you didn't know that, but everybody I asked when I said, what kind of training do you think you need? They all said more advanced level training.
Yeah.
So what were we supposed to do with that? So I started really thinking about it, and I ran it around the room, and I'm like, okay, so we literally have to start with what happens when you hit the brake pedal here, right? All the way up to, ABS, traction control, ADAS. So how do we break this down so technicians are interested in it? Because if you failed the test and I came to you as a technician, I said, hey man, we got to work on the basics here. You're going to be, I don't want basic training. The technicians don't want to do it. And I think, not to get too far off the rails here, but I think the reason that we are having this issue now is because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Follow me here. I think during COVID, a lot of technicians left the industry and a lot of shop owners got scared. And we stopped relying on things like ASC testing and training. Technicians were making more and more money, and hey, I get it. They were making more and more money and not having to train. They just produce hours, and life is great. But now what we're realizing as shop owners, especially in our group, is that where comebacks and misdiagnosis, miscommunications live are in the basics. And the reason why that happened is, I think, not just because of COVID, but maybe it's threefold. Number one, we don't have the infrastructure in the public school system anymore that allows us to have vocational technical school. And not to get on a soapbox and get political again, but I said it in a conference one time, and it was kind of a smart-ass remark. I said, well, it's easier for a high school guidance counselor to push 4-year college than it is to apply for a grant to get an alignment machine. And it just so happens, and I'm not going to mention his name, he came to me and he said, right after it, he's like, I'm not mad, but my wife's a high school counselor. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I've tried so hard to get a vocational school or a vocational program for woodworking and for auto mechanics in our school. But it's not just that it's harder to get the grant. He's like, that's not the problem. It's that insurance companies won't insure it.
Yeah.
And that's too much of a liability. So we have COVID where shop owners were just throwing money out there.
Yeah.
Technicians didn't have to do training anymore. They didn't get it to begin with. And I think thirdly, the problem was, and you and I talked about this a lot, and I kind of want you to explain how you use this in your shop, but technicians don't have to have a vast knowledge of the basics anymore, because the process now is to verify the customer's concern and go directly to Google, direct hit, WorldPack, or whatever form. I mean, we have our own form, and they're doing it on there too. We see that.
Yeah.
But you, I think, you could speak to this, because I think you do this in maybe not a unique way, but in a more effective, clever way.
So while direct hit is part of our shop, right? Like, obviously, if there's a odd concern, I don't want my technicians to have to go through a trouble tree on every single vehicle. If there is, I'm torn, right? I want my technician to learn the skill set, but I'm also a shop owner, and I want to make profit. So I got to balance both. But at the same time, if I have a technician that is constantly going to direct hit and just pulling the answers out, if they can't answer the question why for everything I ask them, they haven't done enough work.
Right.
So in their diagnostic process, whatever the approach is for whatever they're diagnosing, if I ask you, well, how did you come up with that result? If direct hit said so is the answer, they know it's getting kicked right back. If they said, well, I've performed these tests and I've condemned this part, or I've condemned this module, then I'm fine with it. But all that needs to be on the repair order, and everything needs to be documented. It's not just taking a quick stab and going
Right.
nuts. But like, again, it comes down to the day-to-day practices, right? It became part of our culture
Right.
that, I really instill in my technicians that I want to take care of the customers because they return. And then you're working on the same car over and over again. If you as a technician has had Mrs. Jones' car in 15 times and you know what it sounds like, it's so much easier to pinpoint a noise that maybe she's not hearing, but you will. And it makes everything so much easier. So now we started pairing customers with technicians. We started pairing, service advisors with customers. And it really helps because they're getting the same experience every single time they come in. Same with our inspection process. It's the same inspection process on every car, every single time the car comes in. Unless it was just there 10, 15 days ago, it's going through the full inspection process again.
Okay. Well, that's also important.
Yeah.
You and I had done a video series where we react to certain situations, brake failure,
Yes.
Wheels coming off, that sort of thing. And I'm a big believer in, look, I'll say this about me. I've been in this industry 35 years. I've been a technician for a long, long time. But I don't make a lot of fans or friends with technicians because I call it like I see it.
Yeah.
Right. So, when I say, hey, we need to do basic training, a lot of technicians, I get kickback on that. Right. And I always say, like, I feel like it's it's a sloppy thing for a technician to do to bypass the circuit and say, I'm going to just verify the customer concern and go directly to Google.
Yeah.
And you're putting people in harm's way. And additionally, as like you were saying, and this is where technicians, my technicians, when I would bring them on in the shops that I owned, I would get a lot of kickback on exactly what you just said. If it's been more than 15 days, we're inspecting that car again.
Yep.
And in fact, in my shop, we had on the door, above the main bay door that you drove into, that we had an entrance and an exit. I had a sign painter come out and she wrote every car, every time above it. And that was our mantra. Every time we would leave a meeting, everybody would chant, every car, every time. If I called into the shop and they saw it was me, they'd pick up the phone, every car, every time. And the reason why we did that is because if you are not looking at your customers' cars, and again, technicians don't want to do that. They just want you to hand them gravy. Not all technicians, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of technicians just want gravy. They want brake jobs. They want transmission flushes, and they want to go home, right? But this is how it works. Like as you, what would you say your percentage of returning customers are?
We're 70%, 75% returning, and then
70%,
25% new as we're still trying to grow.
So let me ask you this. What happens if you stop inspecting those cars? That's 75% of people who come in to see you for oil changes every 3 months. You don't inspect their cars for a year and a half, 2 years. You get lax on your inspection program.
They end up in our heavy line bay with a bunch of engine failure, transmission failure, or they come back, or they're just super frustrated that they had to return. How come you didn't show me this, right?
Absolutely.
Customers are used to that same service. So, but I don't want to throw everything on a shop owner, but most of our shop owners are technicians turned shop owner.
Yep.
And then I think at some point the blinders go on and they forget. But like when you were a technician, it was frustrating to inspect every car, especially when stuff wasn't selling. Like business has highs and lows, so you're pushing like, hey, make sure you inspect the whole car, and the customer just doesn't want to buy, and they're like, well, why am I inspecting cars?
Yeah.
So we make a huge deal out of returns. Like when a customer returns, we make sure that the technician knows, hey, you inspected this on this date, you went through and you quoted this car out on this date. Customer said no and came back. It's 45 days later. That's just how long they needed to save up funds, or that was just their timeline for when they can get the car back.
Right.
Whatever, but it came back. So like the inspections you're doing today may not be for today's work, but that'll be, 45 days down the road, maybe 90 days down the road. And we do everything in a series of priority ratings. 1, 2, 3. 1 is customer concern, needs it now. 2 is stuff it's going to need between the next 3,000 and 5,000 miles. That's our range. And then 3 is overdue maintenance. And for us, in August, September, we start recommending tires for winter.
Okay.
With the snow belt. So
Got it.
Yeah, we're pushing that then. And just so we don't I don't want to surprise a customer on December 27th that you need $1,000 in tires after Christmas.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Got it. Well, that's smart. Yeah, so I think it's important, like we were saying, I mean, if you don't inspect your customers' cars, because a lot of them are return, they're going to end up in heavy line. And what happens to your paycheck?
Drops.
It's Friday night, you're waiting on a part to finish up an engine job.
It's always that 1 97-cent O-ring, and you just can't reassemble it.
you have more chance to make mistakes on a bigger job.
Of course.
So the consequences are more dire. If I have to remove and replace that job or that engine under warranty, then that's a big deal. I don't know that my boss is going to pay me too many times to do that if it's my fault, right? And we should be shooting for about 2.5 hours per car as a technician. If you're a technician, you have 2.5 hours per car. It tells me that you're probably inspecting. You inspect a lot of cars. You're recommending maintenance. You're doing light repair. And what I always tell technicians is like, a lot of guys really love to do engines and transmissions and rebuilds and stuff like that. Like, don't worry, you're still going to be the hero because that stuff's still going to show up. Oh, yeah. Trust me, it's going to be there. But your paychecks are going to be bigger. Your customers are going to be happier if you're inspecting and recommending maintenance, right?
For sure.
So that's, again, to tie this all back together, that's where the basics live. I meet and interview a lot of technicians that don't understand how that works and don't understand the philosophy behind it. I think a lot of technicians that I've talked to are like, well, the boss is just being greedy.
Yeah.
Well, if you zoom out and you look at what you are doing holistically, like you are affecting your customers' relationship with your shop and their relationship with their car, right? That they depend on to take their kids to soccer or they, work or whatever. So I think it's really important that, we talked about, who you want to be as a shop owner and what your reputation should be and your culture should be, attracting technicians, how to teach technicians to, how to assimilate technicians into your culture and teach them how to be technicians. Because again, I meet a lot of technicians and interview them, and a lot of them are, they're not understanding how to develop their careers, how they should measure up, what their KPIs, what KPIs should they even be looking at? For instance, close ratio is one of those things to me as a technician I pay close attention to. Because if my close ratio is low with a certain service advisor, then that's a problem. I got a trust issue with that service advisor. Maybe I had a few comebacks with them. I need to clean that up.
Yep.
Okay. That's really important. Now, if you have a lot of comebacks, you're going to have a low close ratio.
100%.
Right. And that tells me you trust me or you don't, right? So I got to fix it or I got to fix myself or whatever I need to do. So again, teaching technicians how to be technicians, showing them the basics, even though they don't want that training. And that's how we came up with T.C.O.D. Because it was an easier pill to swallow. Yeah. Just full transparency. And then the third place that we find that technicians have the hardest time and need the most help is what they're doing in your bays right now, which is working. You say it because I know you know the answer.
They're just experimenting on customers' cars if they're not being trained, right?
If they're not being
and
trained.
It burns a ton of time. So you get your choice of either doing the training up front, which will not pay off instantly. I don't care what training platform you use. But if you're going to go ahead and hit training with your technicians, 1 day, 1 hour of training is not going to net you anything. It's going to be the consistent action that you take the whole time. There's 52 weeks in a year. Out of those 52 weeks, if we're doing 1 hour of training, which I do pay my technicians for, I don't believe that you could have them do training and make it free. I think you absolutely should be paying them for it. That's just my take on it. But when I ask them at night, like, hey, there's a really good class on tonight, all my technicians show up because I pay them for the training during the day. I give some there and then they give some there.
Right.
They're willing to sacrifice a little bit of their time because they know I'm in their corner. But if we're not doing the training, like what I'm seeing now is it used to be everything that was a check engine light related always needed 3 hours of testing. I was like, guys, this is a simple circuit. We should be able to diagnose this in 45 minutes. I'm fine with charging a customer an hour. 3 hours seems excessive. Let's be realistic.
Right.
And then they're just hitting, again, we're experimenting with customers' cars. Well, now that we're going through all the right processes and how to use a scope and how to do the proper checks, how to actually load test a circuit, they go through it, and now they're just doing it second nature because they're learning the skills they need. Right. Well, now I'm seeing them come in and I only need a half hour of testing. I know I can nail this down. I only need an hour of testing. I know I can nail this down. Well, if you're looking at it from a shop owner point of view, what I saw is after 6 months into the 9-month mark, it started paying dividends because instead of losing those customers on $200, $300 diagnostic charges, well, now we're capturing the whole job with only, $100 diagnostic charge.
Right.
And it's Customers love when stuff is quick. So when a technician's fast and you get to it quicker, your approval rate goes up. And if you could show the technician that and say, hey, the quicker you check the car out, the quicker you quote it out, the faster we get to the customer, and then what they approve goes up. The faster we get the repairs done, the happier the customer, obviously.
Yeah. And somebody's going to fix that car.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to charge them an hour diagnostics, and they're going to get that job, and you lost that customer.
Yep.
So you're kind of gambling, like, well, I bet they'll pay the $300 or whatever, you know. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, we started tracking like how many actually left us, and the number was shocking. It was like 35% that would get like, and what's even worse is when you see one leave on a tow truck. It came in on a tow truck, and then you quote them something, you know, whether it be testing time, and then it leaves on a tow truck. Like,
so think about that. I mean, you got to pay to tow it in. You got to pay to tow it out.
You're never seeing that customer again.
For this, you're not seeing that customer again. And they found it for at least $300 cheaper than what you were doing, right? And they don't trust you now.
And I mean, there's a huge stigmata in the industry, like, of charging for diagnostic time and some people giving it back away. I'm not here to tell you what the model is, but the customer perception is what's key here, right? If the customer believes that, you know, the diagnostic charges shouldn't be included there, we either need to educate the customer and explain to them, like, and not berate them, but tell them, hey, you know, this technician has time, effort, energy, equipment, tools, all go into that. You're not just paying for nothing. But at the same time, like, I'm a big fan on, we have customers all the time that'll call the shop and they'll say something along the lines of, I already had another shop check it out. So our go-to is, would you rather compare two opinions, you know, and then have a proper diagnostic done on the car, or do you want to gamble with this $800 repair that maybe I could do for $750, but still, do you want to gamble with that?
Absolutely.
And we try to break it down like that. But our technicians know that too, because they, like, as we've been going, it was clear to me that we have the back of the house, all the technicians, and we have the front, two completely different set of skills.
Yeah.
I mean, technicians see things broken or fixed. The front of the house deals all in the gray area. Technicians are black and white, and those would clash constantly. So now that each other, while they don't need to understand every skill each one does, now they're starting to blur the lines, and they see where the pain points are in the front, and they could make their life easier. Yeah. If you set your service advisor up for success with a good ticket and a good inspection, and everything goes smoother, you make more money. Yes, it will take you 10 more minutes, but you will absolutely make more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you just do a crappy inspection and you don't put all the notes in your point of sale system, and you don't inform the advisor, whether they're a seasoned, you know, from the industry or not, or they're just a, you know, outside salesperson who, you know, or somebody from outside the industry, if you set them up for success, it works really well. If you don't set them up for success, you're the one with no work in your
get
bag.
what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe in selling diagnostic testing. And what I mean by that is, I am not going to sell you an hour. I am going to sell you an hour. Like, you come in with a catalyst efficiency code. I'm selling you a catalytic converter efficiency test.
Yep.
So that here's the objective. Here's what we're going to test. Here's the results. Well, we know what it's not now, you know, or, you know, a lot of times it's going to be it's O2 sensors, you know, you got a misfire, you got whatever it is. And that you can sell them a test, and they feel a lot more comfortable with, oh, I'm going to get some results here. Because when you say, hey, I probably need 3 or more hours of diagnostics, customers, number one, I don't make $120 an hour. That's what they think. And then they get really nervous because they're like, what if it takes 8 hours to do this thing?
Yeah.
I can't afford that. You know, it's a lot of money. Well, hey, man, it's been really good talking to you today.
Likewise.
It was fun. If you guys are interested, check out the videos that Kevin and I did. Our reaction videos. It was really fun to do that with you, man. And I can't wait to have you back. I got more things I want to talk to you about, okay?
Awesome.
So thanks. All right, guys, you fix the cars, you fix the shop. Thank you.